Hello everyone, this is Rig. Welcome to another episode of the Vedic Age series. And today we are going to specifically talk about the Rig Vedic tribes, wars, and the occupation of the Rig Vedic period. So, without doing further delay, let's get into details. Introduction to Rig Vedic literature. What kind of literature was there in the Rig Vedic period? From the name itself, we can understand that the culture of this period revolved around the culture of the Rig Vedic text. But there are certain areas of the Rig Vedic text which are much older than the other ones. We are going to go through them. The division of Vedic corpus into early and later text by the historians. So the whole of Vedic corpus along with the text which are related to the Vedas have been divided into early Vedic and later Vedic by different historians. The early Vedic literature pertains to Rig Veda Samhita family books. So, in Rig Veda, there are 10 books, 10 mandalas. Among them, from book 2 to 7, these portions are called the family books. So, these are the earliest part of Rig Veda, and the whole early Vedic or Rig Vedic culture revolves around the family books of the Rig Veda. The later Vedic literature includes certain books of Rig Veda and texts like Samhitas of Samaveda, Yajurveda, Atharva Veda, the Brahmanas, Aryanakas, and the Upanishads. So these are the related texts to the Rig Veda, and the later Vedic text comprise of all these other texts. The cultural stages reflect early and later Vedic cultures. So the cultural stages of the Rig Vedic period can be divided into early Vedic culture and later Vedic culture. The principal Shastric authors, some of the early Griha Sutras dated to around 800 to 400 BCE. So some of the early Griha Sutras also fall in the Rig Vedic culture or the early Vedic culture because it has been dated from 800 to 400 BC. Now, tribes and clan wars. There was a tribal community at the time of the Rig Vedas. Hence, there was fight for resources and fight for dominion status among other kind of tribes. Thus, clan wars took place. About 30 tribes and clans including Yadu, Turvasa, Puru, Anu, Dhruyu, all these tribes are included in the Rig Veda. So Rig Veda mentions different types of tribes. 30 tribes are very prominent. Among them, Yadu, Turvasa, Puru, Anu, and Dhruyu are the most important ones. Referred to as the five peoples and known for their conflicts. So these five tribes, the most prominent five tribes, have been referred to as the five peoples, and they always were in conflict with each other. The Rig Veda describes the chief of Purus named Divodasa and Dasas under King Shamvara. So it also gives us the name of the chief or the ruler named as Divodasa, who was the ruler of the Purus, and Dasas under King Shamvara. So we get names of two important rulers named Divodasa and King Shamvara. The Battle of 10 Kings, Dasarajna, possibly reflects an actual historical incident. So there was a battle or a war fought between 10 kings of the Rig Vedic times, and that battle is popularly referred as Battle of 10 Kings or Dasarajna, which is also a translation of the word Battle of 10 Kings. And here all the major tribes fought against each other, and possibly the Purus were victorious among them, and they bunched together with another tribe and formed the Kuru tribe, from where we get the name Kurukshetra. And this Battle of 10 Kings is the earliest recorded war in the Indian subcontinent. Political alliances always shifted, showing fluid tribal affiliations over time. So whenever some tribe used to become very powerful, other tribes used to align with the powerful ones, and there was political shifting of affiliations. Thus we can understand that there was a role of diplomacy and politics in the Rig Vedic culture. Societal structure and assemblies. Here we will go through different kinds of union which was there in the society of Rig Vedic period. Terms like Jana, Vish, Gana, Grama, Kula describe socio-political units, which means that there were socio-political unions among people in the form of Jana, Vish, Gana, Grama, Kula. So here Kula, the word Kula means different families linked together in the relationship of kinship among each other. So when different kulas come together, they form a grama. When different gramas come together or group together, they form a gana. When different ganas are grouped together, they form a vish, and different vish together form a jana. So these are the terms of socio-political units in the Rig Vedic time. Rig Veda mentions Shabha and Samiti assemblies with varied functions. So it was like a meeting, it was like a panchayat in current times, where people come together and discuss various important agendas of the society, and such organizations were sabhas and samitis in the Rig Vedic time. Vidata assembly likely performs socio religious and community roles. So each of the assemblies had different kind of responsibilities, in the form of which they had to perform different kind of roles. So the Vidhata assembly performed the socio-religious and community roles in the Rig Vedic culture. Kinship played a significant role in the societal structure. The blood relationship among different people, among different families, played a crucial part in the social structure of the Rig Vedic time. Grama likely referred to mobile groups of people, possibly beyond kinship bonds. So Grama were a mobile group of people who went from one place to the another, and their union was possibly beyond the bond of kinship. Next up we have economic focus on pastoralism. So pastoralism was the chief form of economy in the Rig Vedic time or the early Vedic time. Cattle were highly valued, indicating pastoralism's significance. So pastoralism's significance has been very much noticed in the Rig Vedic period, and thus cattle were very highly valued. The battles and terms are often associated with cattle, such as Gavishti, cattle raid. So cattle were the chief form of wealth in the Rig Vedic culture, and people used to raid each other's territory in order to gain control or to bring in cattle into their own dominion. Hence, Gavishti was a term very much popular, which means cattle raid. People used to go and snatch each other's cattle. R.S. Sharma notes the prominence of cattle related words. So all historian R.S. Sharma has noted the prominence of the cattle related words in Rig Veda, which proves the fact that cattle was highly valued in Rig Vedic culture. Agricultural terms are present, but they are less frequent than pastoral references. So even though agriculture was there in the Rig Vedic period, it was not as popular or as much as highly valued as the cattle rearing or pastoralism. Discussion on pastoralism versus agriculture's prominence by scholars like R.S. Sharma. So R.S. Sharma and different other historians are continuously debating on the fact whether the economy was agro-based or cattle-based. Vocational activities in the Rig Vedic time. So what are the other kind of activities the Rig Vedic people used to do? Chariot making, carpentry and metal working has been mentioned in Rig Veda. So chariot making, it was a popular system of transport in the Rig Vedic times, hence chariot making was very much popular. Carpentry means wooden works, and metallurgical works in the form of carving different kind of metal objects has also been mentioned in the Rig Veda. No significant references has been done to metallurgy as per Indra Chakravarti's analysis. So historian Indra Chakravarti has said that there is no significant reference to metallurgy. Hence we are still in confusion about the fact of what kind of metal was prominent in the Rig Vedic culture. Exchange systems included barter and proto-monetary forms like nishka. So nishkas are golden coins or gold coins, which were a form of monetary commodity, and also other systems of economic exchange was mainly in the form of barter, which means that things were exchanged rather than money. Tributes and spoils of war were major wealth sources. So most of the prominent leaders have gained their wealth through tributes by their subjects, and also the spoils of war. By cattle raids or military raids, they went and conquered each other's territory along with their resources, and that was a form of increasing resources in one's territory. Bali, which is a tribute, suggests a form of regular taxation system. So only one form of taxation system has been noticed in the Rig Vedic text, that is Bali, which means a tribute given to the leader in order to get maintenance and protection and security. Indicators of social hierarchy. How was the social hierarchy in Rig Veda, and what from which sources, which indications do we understand about that hierarchy? Wealth and rank differences suggested through references to war, booty and tributes. So wealth and rank differences was there, and that differences were indicated by the references to the war, booty and tributes. Means the wealth they have gained by conquering each other's territory, and also the tributes they used to get from their subjects was indicator of the wealth of a person. Rajan and kin likely had access to greater resources. So Rajan means the chief. The chief of the clan was popularly termed as Rajan, and his relatives were his kins. They had the access to greater resources in the society. So all kind of expensive and most modern and updated things were used by the Rajan and his family. Rajan's role is critical in rituals and sacrifices leading to wealth and fame. So sacrificial rituals used to be performed in Rig Veda, about which we will discuss in our later videos. That was a very prominent system in the Rig Vedic culture in order to gain blessings or favors from deities. There the role of the chief or Rajan was very much critical, and that means that the person Rajan rose to wealth and fame. Concept of private property was very much different from that of the modern understanding. So here in modern understanding we find existence of personal or private properties, but in Rig Vedic society all of the property was based on the ownership to a certain community. The dasa occupied the lowest societal rank. So dasas were servants who occupied the lowest rank in the social hierarchy. So Rajan was the highest, and his kins enjoyed maximum facilities in the Rig Vedic culture, and the servants of the society came in the lowest social rank. Dietary habits and agriculture. What kind of food system was there in the Rig Vedic culture, and how they used to make food in the form of agriculture. References to milk products like ghee and vegetable consumption has been seen in Rig Vedic text. So milk products and vegetable consumption were very much popular among the diet of the Rig Vedic people. Soma is a sacred drink which was an essential aspect of rituals. So Somras or Soma was a sacred drink which has a mythical origin, which is believed to have a mythical origin, was an essential aspect in the rituals performed by the Rig Vedic people. Prohibition was there against cow slaughter, emphasized by the term Aghanya. So, cow slaughter was banned in the Rig Vedic period because cattle was a highly valued sacred resource in the Rig Vedic culture, and still in Indian culture cattle are very much highly valued and gains the respect of a mother. So there was prohibition against cow slaughter. Terms for agricultural fields and implements indicate farming activities. So there are different terms mentioned in Rig Veda which indicate that there was specific agricultural and farming activities performed by the Rig Vedic people. Rituals sought divine favor for bountiful harvest and protection of field. So there were many divine rituals or religious rituals done in order to get the favor of the gods, and favor was to gain protection for bountiful harvest and so that the fields are not destroyed by any kind of disasters. Pastimes and leisure activities. What kind of entertainment activities was done by the Rig Vedic people? Rig Veda texts refer to music, dance and playing of instruments. So there is mention of music, there is mention of dance and playing of different kind of musical instrument. You can see on the left hand side a picture of a veena, which is a popular musical instrument in the Rig Vedic culture. Games and gambling such as dice were common leisure activities. So gambling was there and different kinds of games were there. Mainly Rig Vedic people depended on the board games as a form of entertainment and common leisure activities. The mention of musical instruments are there like veena and vana. So veena and vana are two of the very popular musical instruments still played in the Indian subcontinent classical culture, and that finds its origin in the Rig Vedic literature. Social gatherings likely featured entertainment and feast. So there must have been social gatherings and entertainment in different kind of feast organized by the Rig Vedic people. Leisure activities played an important role in communal bonding. So all these leisure activities where people used to come together and perform entertainment or enjoyed entertainment in the form of music, dance, playing of different kind of musical instrument bonded the people very much. So leisure activities were a form of communal bonding among the people in Rig Vedic culture. Sea travel and trade in the Rig Vedic period. So there is reference to travel in the seas in the Rig Vedic culture. Nautical references suggest some knowledge of sea travel. Even though it was not very much prominent, but we find nautical references which suggest that there was knowledge about sea travel. People knew about the existence of different lands in the sea, and even though there was not very much extensive trade between the different maritime routes, but still there was some kind of knowledge about sea travel. Rescue operations at sea has been mentioned, indicating maritime activities. So there are incidents mentioned in the family books of Rig Veda where we find some kind of some kind of people stuck within the ocean and other people going to rescue them. So this indicates that people had knowledge of the sea and maritime activities. Historians debate the extent of sea travel knowledge and activity. So even though there is no prominent mention of sea travel or no expedition held by the prominent Rajans in the Rig Vedic period, still there is reference to sea related terms, which is a topic of debate between the historians whether the Rig Vedic people had knowledge about sea or not. The role of trade overseas is not clear but indicated in later text. So whether there was trading activities conducted through different maritime routes is not clear in the Rig Veda, but it has been indicated in other later Vedic texts. Eastern and Western oceans are mentioned in different contexts. So when we will study about the geography of the Rig Vedic period, we will know that the authors of Rig Veda has mentioned Eastern and Western oceans while describing different incidents. Hence we can surely say for a fact that the Rig Vedic people had knowledge about the sea, even though it is highly debatable whether they did extensive trade through the maritime routes or not. Role and wealth of Rajan. Who was the Rajan and what kind of role did he play in the society? Rajan led tribes in battle and had significant ritual roles. So Rajan was the chief of the tribe, and even though monarchy was not very much prominent in the Rig Vedic period, but it can be assumed that the person who was called Rajan was the chief of the tribe, and being a chief he was also the commander of the armed forces who led the tribes into battle and also had significant roles in religious rituals. Importance of royal priest has been indicated in Rig Veda, and also priests like Vashishtra and Vishwamitra has been highlighted in Rig Veda. So Vashishtra was later on said in the epic Ramayana. Vashishtra has been a Gurudev of the royal family in Ayodhya, and Vishwamitra is also a former warrior turned sage who is having great knowledge about warfare according to the epic Ramayana. So these two sages or royal priests have been highlighted in the Rig Vedic text. Bali is a tribute from the clansmen to the Rajas, indicates an early form of taxation. So Bali is a form of tax where people or the clansmen used to pay tribute to the Rajan, to the king or to the chief of the tribe, and this is the earliest form of taxation we find in the Indian subcontinent. But whether this form of taxation was in the form of products or in the form of money, that is not yet clear from the Rig Vedic descriptions. Tributes extracted from the defeated tribes in battle. So when a chief used to go and conquer some other tribes with the help of their armed forces, they used to force tributes upon the conquered members of the conquered territories, and thus it was a form of wealth making among the different clans in Rig Vedic culture. Redistribution of wealth post sacrifices and battles had social implications. So all the wealth that has been, all the spoils of war used to be redistributed among the people by the chief of the tribe, and that had huge social significance. Next up we have social stratification and gender roles. So what kind of stratas were there in the society and what were the roles roles of the specific genders in the society. Vedic texts simply imply differences in wealth and rank but not rigid classes. So Still, in the Rig Vedic time, there was no rigid difference between wealth and class, between the race of the people. There was no prominent hierarchy, no fixed hierarchy in the Rig Vedic times. Whatever hierarchy or the caste system we know about the ancient Indian culture originated after the early Vedic period. So Rig Vedic text define social status on the form of wealth. Wealth was the indicator of social status, but there was no rigid classes. Egalitarian aspects has been noted with less emphasis on class hierarchy. There is no class hierarchy in Rig Vedic time, and the only indicator of social status was wealth. Social stratification indicated by terms like dasa for servitude. So the servants of the Rig Vedic society were called dasa, and that was one of the social stratification that has been indicated in the text of Rig Veda. Gender roles were differentiated with terms like Duhitri, which means daughter, and Gojit, which means hero, also which means son. So Duhitri is the term which signifies a daughter, and Gojit signifies hero. So these are the gender specific terms found in Rig Vedic culture. Sexual exploitation and labor reflected in terms of female slaves. So there is existence of female slaves in the Rig Vedic time, but whether they were exploited sexually or exploited in labor is not prominent, and it is also a topic of debate between the historians. Food and drink and leisure in the Rig Vedic society. What kind of food, drink and leisure was there in the Rig Vedic society? Consumption of milk, ghee, vegetables and fruits was very much common. We have discussed about this in our earlier slides, that consumption of milk products and vegetables was very much prominent in the diet of Rig Vedic people. Soma and Sura were important drinks, Soma being ritualistic. So Soma and Sura were important drinks in the Rig Vedic culture, and Soma has been assumed to have a mythical origin. Hence, it was a ritualistic drink for specific religious occasions only. Cows held a sacred status referred to as Aganya, which means not to be killed. Cows were considered sacred. Even still now in modern Indian subcontinent, cows are considered sacred in many cultures. Hence, there was prohibition against cow slaughter. Entertainment included music, dance and playing of different kind of instruments. So entertainment was there in the form of songs, music, dance and different kind of musical instruments, mainly veena and vana. Gambling with dice was a popular pastime indicating leisure's cultural role. So gambling is one of the earliest forms of entertainment among people, and it finds its origin in the Rig Vedic culture, because we find existence of people playing different kind of board games like Shatranj or Pasha, which is played with the help of a grid pattern board and a dice. Next up, we have to know about the significance of cattle and what was the importance of agriculture in the Rig Vedic economy. Cattle rearing was central, and it is evidenced by Gavishti and Gavyuti. So Gavishti, Gavyuti and different type of terms related to cows and cattle has been found in Rig Veda. R.S. Sharma played a crucial role in recognizing all these terms and relating them to the pastoral economy of the Rig Vedic people. So cattle rearing was the central activity among the Rig Vedic people culture. Importance of cattle indicated by words with Gau infix in Rig Veda. So different kind of words are there in Rig Veda, which starts with the pronunciation of Gau, which means cow. Hence, we find the importance of cattle in the Rig Vedic culture. Agriculture referenced with the terms for fields kshetra and plow shira. So kshetra is a term referred to the agricultural fields, and shira is a term which means plow. Hence agriculture was also practiced by the Rig Vedic people, even though cattle rearing was the central economic activity. Farming activities are mentioned, though less prominent than pastoralism. So farming was there, but in a very minimum and uncommon amount. The people in Rig Vedic culture, or the people in early Vedic culture, based their economy on pastoral activities only. Sacrifices were often sought for the prosperity of cattle and fertile fields. So people used to perform religious sacrificial rituals where they used to please a deity, and the favor they used to get was protection of cattle and fertility of fields. So that was the significance of cattle and agriculture in the early Vedic age. Craftsmanship and occupation. What were the other forms of occupation practiced by the Rig Vedic people? Various crafts such as chariot making, cart making and weaving has been mentioned in the Rig Vedic text. So other than agriculture to a very minimum amount and central activity of pastoralism, people used to practice crafts in the form of carpentry like chariot making, cart making, and also textile industry was there in the form of weaving. Limited references has been made to metallurgical activities in Rig Veda. So we don't find metal workers mentioned very much commonly in Rig Veda. There is minimum references to metallurgical works. Occupation sometimes tied to family or kin, indicating possible specialization. So occupations, a specific kind of family or a specific community used to do similar occupation. So few of the occupations were tied to specific families or their kin members, which indicates that there was craft specialization in the Rig Vedic times. Economic roles included Bali as a form of tribute to the Rajas. We have discussed about this in our previous discussions, that Bali was a form of tax that was paid by the clan members to their chiefs. Wealth accumulation was mainly done from war booty, and tribute has been redistributed. So war booty was collected when a tribe used to conquer another tribe, and also the chief of the tribe used to get wealth in the form of tributes paid by the clansmen, and that tribute was also sometimes redistributed among the people, and that had a political significance. Social structure and economic exchange. Terms like pana, dhana, rai indicate forms of wealth and exchange. So we find existence of terms like pana, dhana, pana which later became panna, and dhana which later became dhan, which means wealth, and rai are the terms which indicate the form of wealth in Rig Vedic society. Indications of trade and barter system has been found, but there is no clear evidence for coin use. So even though there is indications towards trade exchange and barter system of exchange among the people, there is no particular evidence of coin found in the Rig Vedic culture. War booty as a source of wealth, with rajas and kings receiving larger shares. So war booty was redistributed among people, and the chief of the clan and his family members used to receive the larger shares from the war booty. On the left hand side you can see a picture of Rig Vedic monetary system and coins, which are also called nishkas. Tributes from defeated tribes hint at early taxation or extortion system. So when a tribe is to be defeated by another tribe, the winning tribe used to extract tributes from the defeated one, and that can be assumed to be a form of taxation or extortion. Redistribution of wealth was there in assemblies, which suggest a form of early economic regulation. So all the wealth that the tribe used to gain after conquering another tribe was not kept by the king or his kinsmen. Some of it used to be redistributed among the people, which suggests an early form of economic regulation. Overview of the Rig Vedic tribes, wars and subsistence. So in this slide we will go through an overview of whatever we have discussed. Rig Vedic society is characterized by diverse tribes and fluid political alliances with significant conflicts over resources like cattle. So cattle was one of the most prominent resources in the Rig Vedic times, and there were diverse tribes which used to align themselves with one another, and thus there was a fluid political system. The societal structure was underpinned by kinship units and assemblies with varied functions, suggesting a complex socio-political landscape. So the socio-political landscape was very much complex, with kinship units and various kind of assemblies functioning together. Pastoralism was the economic mainstay, with agriculture playing a secondary role. Cattle was central to wealth and status. Vocational activities extended beyond pastoralism to include crafts, with limited references to metallurgy and more emphasis on agrarian and domestic crafts. So there is almost no reference of metallurgy in the Rig Vedic culture, and there are numerous references to pastoralism, which by which we can assume that it was the central economic activity of the Rig Vedic people. Social stratification was present, but it was not rigid or defined, with wealth and rank differences not necessarily implying fixed classes. So there was no fixed classes in the early Vedic society, and the only stratification was in the form of wealth and rank. Cultural life in rituals with sacred drinks like soma, and leisure activities including music, dance and gambling, highlighting the importance of communal and religious life. So people had a communal and religious life, and that can be indicated in the form of different forms of entertainment that has been given in the Rig Vedic text. Early forms of economic exchange were in place, with wealth primarily generated from cattle rearing and war booty and tributes, indicating an emerging redistribution system. So the whole economic exchange of the Rig Vedic culture mainly depended on cattle rearing, war booty and tributes from kinsmen. So that was all about the occupation, different kinds of tribes and wars fought in the Rig Vedic times. Along with that, we also get an insight of the social stratification, different forms of entertainment practiced by the people, and the role of assemblies, and also the role played by the chief of the tribes. So in our next videos, we are going to go further into the details about Rig Vedic culture, where we will discuss about more about the social stratification and also other aspects like Vedic religion. So stay tuned for more upcoming videos in the series, and always support me so that I can bring brighter contents in future. Thank you for your love and support.